Hi, it's Melody Brooke here. Today I want to talk about the stuff that's really big and in the news right now, which has to do with the sexual assault of women and the bragging about it that occurred in Donald Trump's talk, and his claiming that that is just locker room talk, which, honestly, I've never really been in a locker room, but I do know that even the worst of the men that I know, I can't think of any of them that would have bragged about sexually assaulting someone. So to begin with, that's a big problem. It kind of speaks to this culture that we have, especially around stars, because he was talking about stars, where women do tend to throw themselves at these stars because they are infatuated by the fame, by the money, and so this really complicates the whole thing. And I also think that in the case of Bill Clinton, that there's a lot of complicated stuff around women and their participation in the process of making themselves be sexual objects for these powerful men. I'm not justifying by any means any idea of attacking the women for allowing these things to happen. This is not what I'm talking about. I'm also not talking about that I think most men are like this, because I don't. Thank God most of them are not. The reality is that there are some men and women, I don't want to pretend that that's not also true for women, because I also know that, because of in my practice I've heard of it, seen it happen. So I know that women also, when they're in places of high stature financially, politically, or by fame, taking advantage of that fact. But it's very complicated, because as women we don't recognize often the impact that we can have on the things that happen to us. And I'm not, again, talking about blaming women, because if a woman's walking down the street in next to nothing, that doesn't give a man a right to attack her at all. But I am saying we have to start recognizing as women, and have to tell this to our daughters and help them understand something that I didn't understand as a young woman, that the things that we do, the ways that we act, the ways that we dress, and the ways that we invite men's attention often can send a message that we don't intend to send. And I think that we have to start taking ownership of that. And I'm not saying, again, that I'm blaming the women. And I know that there are people that are going to attack me for this, because I've already been attacked and I hadn't even said anything yet. The reality is that women do have a responsibility to be aware of their impact. And if we're not aware of our impact, then we're being perpetrators too, in a way, because that is what, in my mind, is the definition of a perpetrator, is someone who doesn't recognize the impact of their behavior. And when we are pushing our breasts up, wearing micro mini skirts, and exposing our bellies, we have to be aware that of the impact that has, and take some responsibility for it. That doesn't mean that it's okay for a person to attack us because we're dressed like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I am saying is that we have to be aware that when we dress like that we are sending a message about what kind of attention we want. That's all I'm saying. If we are saying through our dress we want this kind of attention, we shouldn't be surprised if we get that kind of attention. So we need to pay attention to noticing, being aware, what we're saying to our daughters, what we're saying to our sons about women who dress like that. Because women who dress like that, they're not saying rape me, they are not saying that. But they are saying, I'm inviting you to look at me as though I'm a sexual object. And then if that's the case, then the men are going to have a natural response to that. It's not bad that they have that response. It's the response that, of course, they're going to have. And we need to be aware of it, take some responsibility for it, and take some responsibility for when we choose as women to allow men to use us that way. Because I heard a lot of reports about what some of the women on The Apprentice had to go through to be on the show, of wearing their dresses really short, dressing certain ways to impress him. They made the choice to wear those things. Even though maybe it would have meant that they wouldn't have gotten on the show, that's okay. That was still their choice. They may not have recognized the impact of it, but it's really important that we start becoming aware of and owning responsibility for our own behavior and the impact that it has. You know, when I look at young girls, 13, 14 years old, trying to dress up and be sexy, they don't have a clue the impact this has on these young boys who are just developing sexually. And they may be getting conflicting messages from their fathers, from their peers, about how to respond to women who are dressing that way, and the invitation that is implied in that. I'm not saying that is an invitation at all, but I am saying that often that's confusing to these young men and even older men who seem to have been raised in ways that are giving them mixed messages about the value of women and the responsibilities they have to women and women for themselves. I know this is complicated, so I'm not trying to make it simple, but I am trying to help you understand that as women we have to begin to educate ourselves, our daughters, about the responsibility we have in recognizing the impact of our behavior. That's all. I'm sure there'll be plenty of responses to this. I think it's really important. It might be something I will continue to talk about. Please give me your ideas. Please don't attack me, but do give me your thoughts on the topic. Thanks. Oh, if you want to learn more about me, you can go to melodybrooke.com. The name of my book is Oh Wow, This Changes Everything, and it's really about understanding how to get out of this whole blame cycle. Talk to you later. Bye.